Hello, wherever you may be, Acesup here with some live commentary. 2 months, 40k. I've been struggling this month, trying to put together some deep runs today. As you can see, we've got the Ace King top middle, which is a $100 rebuy. I've got a funny hand from that I'll show you later. This could actually be a squeeze. This game's been pretty aggressive, and I'm just going to go ahead and re-raise here. It's pretty obvious once I do this that I have, you know, Ace King, probably Jacks up, Ace King, maybe Ace Queen suited. He's probably just going to fold, but, you know, he might get in 10s plus, or maybe Ace Queen suited, the same sort of hand. He's a little bit on the loose-ish side, and he sort of thinks we're a bit loose as well. If we run into aces or kings, I mean, it's just what it is. See if we can get some run good today. Look at that. Turn on the video, get a double up. Gotta love that. So that's interesting that that's happened, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was that I left off last session, talking about how you kind of got to make your own luck in the poker world, because the poker gods, it's very rarely do they help you out. And the kind of thing I'm talking about, again, you can see here with the monstrous Jack 6 holding that we had here. Get the early limp, the isolation, which looked pretty weak to me, and the re-isolation, and then so I go ahead and put in the 4th bet there. And I think Cecilius will get good leverage against him. He's folding a lot, and he's probably going to fold to a lot of c-bets if he does call. He does actually call, and we get actually what would normally be a really bad flop. But in this instance, sorry guys, I'm just thinking what to do bottom middle here. I'm not sure he has quite enough bluffing hands. I mean, only probably the King of Spades, I think. I could be wrong about that. Once he sees a check flop, he might just feel entitled to just barrel off. But we're kind of looking like we're checking a call, I think. Kind of looks a bit value-ish to me, but it's hard to say. If we had had the King of Spades, I think it... I mean, we didn't have the King of Spades. If we had had the King of Spades, it'd probably be an easier fold, but... since we don't have the King of Spades, he might have. That might be a hand he has. You know, King Spades, 9, 10, or Jack. Just betting with the nut flush draw. You know, which I think he should do once it gets checked flop. So going back to that hand I was talking about a moment ago. Obviously, you saw we flopped 2 pair. So... I think, you know, this board normally, if we had a 3-bet light with a hand like Ace Deuce, let's say, suited, be a pretty bad board. I don't even know if I would c-bet on it. And at this point, too, I think his range contains some traps. You know, once he goes ahead and 3-bets, remember this limp is, you know, it doesn't count as like a raise, like this is the 2-bet here, this is the 3-bet. Our raise, of course, is the 4-bet. I think it's a pretty clear spot, but I mean, this raise to me looks really weak. The initial isolation looks very, very weak. I mean, he's just trying to isolate a limping fish in position on the button with a really wide range. And this guy is probably smart enough to know that, and he puts in this raise here. And then we've got to capitalize on that by putting in the 4th bet here, and the 4th raise here, and the 4-bet, and yeah, just try to pick up the pot, because there's already a lot of dead money out there. Once we make this raise here, there's 1,300 in there, and we add about 1,300 onto our big blind, so it only has to work 50% of the time. I think it's working a lot more than that. As it is, this Cecilius, however you want to say his name, does actually make the call, and obviously we flop top and bottom. So I guess go ahead and bet. It's still a little bit of a dangerous board, considering he's flattered the 4-bet, and so, you know, he can still have hands like king queen. He can have ace jack, ace 10 suited, a king 10 suited, jack queen suited. He might have some hands like that that just kind of don't believe us, our 4-bet, and just call to hit, and then just have the intention of check jamming. And so I think betting sort of around this size, even though our hand is strong, just to get a bit of protection against his range, which is likely going to be around this sort of board. As it is, he maybe has ace queen and just didn't want to get it in pre. He did think for a little bit and then fold. Maybe he had, I guess it's not impossible, he had like eights or something and was just going to kind of see what came and then make up his mind. But I mean, that's getting a bit fishy, so I don't know about that. 3, 4, 5. I think I'm just going to jam down there. Yeah, so it's a kind of it was a fun hand. Once I saw the flop, it was a lot more fun. I was hoping he'd call with king jack suited or something. It's just like you jack 6 4-betting bastard sort of thing. But yeah, I mean this sort of play, I think you've got to be on the lookout for this sort of thing. And I'm talking to you guys now. I'm probably potentially missing stuff that's happening, but you've got to try and stay zoned in. So let's just do that now and just try and zone in here and make good decisions. Pretty easy jam down here. 3, 6, 7, 8. We're pretty short. There's certainly no point. There's no point. Just trying to think. No point. Just 3-betting. Just trying to think if we should barrel or not here. I guess he's going to have a king a lot. You could have 4s through to 10s, 4s through to jacks. It's probably stretching it a bit, jacks, because he might 3-bet it and we've got a jack blocker. I don't know if, I mean, he's probably going to call turn with like 9s, 10s, jacks, but fold 7s. He's going to fold turn if we barrel with 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s. I think he's going to have 6s or 7s a lot here, something like that. So we probably could have barreled him off. He is quite sticky. And so it's pretty close. I mean, could go either way with it. He's got a 3, so it's the same sort of thing. And I think it's a bit of a mistake on my part there by not barreling, because if he's going to call wide, which he seems to call pretty wide, you've got to punish those guys with barrels. And so I think that's a mistake on my part, letting him to get to showdown a bit too easily there. Because too often they're going to have... I mean, his range is... Our range, we can just bet. We can have aces, we can have kings, we can have ace-king, we have king-queen. We can have small sets as well we would open with. We can have a lot of hands. There's certain hands he can't have, certain hands that he's unlikely to have. And what I'm really getting at here is kind of talking about a capped range. His range is not... I mean, it's not capped in the sense that he can't have strong hands, because he can still have a hand like pocket 2s and pocket 3s for a set, but he can't really have kings. He's not really going to have ace-king, whereas we can have those hands, because we've raised pre. The reason why I'm saying he can't have those hands is he probably would have 3-bet with them pre if he had kings or ace-king most of the time, and so a lot of his range is going to be king 10, king jack, pocket 6s, ace 3, 3, 4, 3, 5 like he had, and so you got to punish those guys because you can fold out so much of their range with barrels. And the other thing that does too that's really, really good is it actually enables you to build the pot as you go. Because if he has got 7s, he calls flop, so we get some value there. And if he check calls turn with even, say, 9s, we still get some more value. Or say king jack, we get more value turn. And then finally on the river, we deal the death blow with the big final bet. And in this sort of board, his thinking would be that, okay, did we pick up diamonds and decide to barrel? Are we just crazy barreling with, ace queen, ace jack, jack queen or something? Or do we actually have like pocket 8s, kings, ace king, aces and going for max value? It's very hard for him to decide, and I think very easy for him to make mistakes. And with hands like this, which are, weak, and this is a classic example. I mean, he picks up a flush draw turn, so we bet turn, he's going to call. And then we bomb river and he's definitely folding. So we get 2 solid streets of value with our hand and really end up making him make the biggest mistake on the river by folding the best hand. And that's really something that you got to look for in the importance of barreling. to create, in that instance, passive dead money, because he's just passively calling. And there's two types of dead money. There's a passive dead money, and there's the aggressive dead money, where you induce a player to make a mistake and, you know, re-raise you or that sort of thing, and then you jam and he folds. And then in that case, it's more sort of passive dead money. And this bottom right, it's actually just a case of going for sheer value because we hit the straight on the turn. It's probably going to look a bit bluffy too here to this guy. I just want to make sure we can get stacks in on the river, no problem. So I think I'm going to bet sort of around that much. I guess he just had 8s, 7s, didn't believe us. Maybe even king, queen on the flop. Almost worth checking back turn, just because we keep those hands in, and now he might think river, that we're just having a stab, we're bluffing. But yeah, I mean, if he's got an ace, he's calling, and if he's got a flush draw, he's calling, and I think it's better just in case we miss value. You know, I just hate missing value. 3, 6, 7. I missed value a couple of times last session and just hated it, so don't want to make the same mistake again. He might even just spaz out, check jam, you know, and try and rep the straight, because, you know, it's pretty unlikely that we have it. We're just fortunate enough that we did that time. And he's probably thinking in his mind there, if he's multi-level thinking, is, how does he... 5, 10, 12... Oh, this is a close one, isn't it? Might go ahead and even jam here. Wow. I guess I'll wait. It's a pretty interesting spot, because this guy's limped, and then he's just 3x'd. He could be just isolating the limper on the button. It doesn't take a good player to know how to do that. This is what I mean is by that is, I mean, even if he's not a strong player, he could be isolating wide. He had 6, 7, so that is isolating wide. So I dare say my jam would have worked there. And yeah, I mean, there could be a mistake not jamming there. You could certainly argue that it was a mistake. Just going to raise this one. 2, 4, 5. This one, M10, is probably, this guy's been pretty tight, so it's probably a mistake to call it off there. Got Enkino on our table again today. One of 2 Pokerstars pros, Enkino, and of course the other one, Shin Bunshi, a very strong MTT player. And a little bit more creative, I think, than Enkino. Enkino is more sort of ABC solid. The thing I find about Enkino and the Japanese players in general is they just don't miss things, you know? They just have a remarkable attention to detail. And I think that's what really, one of their strengths is their discipline, and their attention to detail is just really good. They just don't make mistakes. You know, they might not quite have the metagame or the sickness that a lot of top players have, but, well, in the case of Enkino, I think, but at the same time, what makes him dangerous is he just doesn't make mistakes, the guy. He just plays very solid and always makes good decisions and doesn't miss anything, you know. It's very easy when you're multi-tabling to just miss a spot, you know, like the King Jack, I kind of missed that one just now on the bottom right that we saw, you know. They stay very composed and make good decisions. So, I mean, that's an important thing to try and add to your own game. You know, it is a hard thing, especially as you start extending out your multi-tabling. It's hard to always stay in the zone, and it's hard to always, you know, capture every opportunity that comes. It's pretty close here. We could go ahead and hit this guy with a 3-bet. Probably rather have a slightly better hand, like a Jack-9 suited, rather than the 6-8, but it's not too bad. The other thing is, too, we just got a few too many players behind. But then, you know, it does kind of look strong, so 6, 12. 6, 12, 9, 7 suited has a PN of 17. So it's really a bit of a fist pumper, isn't it? And the big blind's short. I didn't notice the big blind was short. And that's, again, when I'm talking about attention to detail. When we see this guy's this stack depth, I mean, it becomes a much easier jam. I mean, it's almost like we're jamming on one player. It's almost like we're only jamming on this guy. And that's not to say the big blind can't wake up with a hand. You know, he certainly can, and he has. But even if he showed us that hand pre-flop, it's still good for us to jam because of the pot odds. With the blinds and antes that are out there because he's just so short. I'm just going to jam down there. Wow, this is a weird one. We've got this guy that's like an M. Well, he's just like... he's tiny. I think he's just going to jam it in when we check. Give him another chance to turn, check. He might just stuff it in. Just think if it's better to call and then shove river or just shove now. I think I might just call and then shove river. Oh my god, he's hit the 8. That is the best. That is the best. He has hit the 8. He's called us with 4-8 off. And he's hit the 8 on the river, which is, I mean, part of the reason why I called is it didn't look like he had a king, and we've got ace blockers, so it doesn't even look like he has ace high. So if we just call turn, it could be a mistake top left as well. I mean, we could just flat there. Flatting might have been, yeah, I think flatting is probably the better play there, actually. Again, you know, missing details. And that's not to say, you know, 3-betting the kings there is a mistake. But at the same time, I think the most profitable line there is just to, you know, flat, keep our range a little bit wider rather than look quite strong in that instance. And the depth that we have, I mean, there's certain hands that he can escape that he might 3-bet with and then fold, like ace-jack. Whereas if we just call when the flop comes, you know, jack 7-2 and we check raise flops, or even just check call, I mean, he's going to barrel off or call. So that 4-8 was a funny hand, wasn't it? The guy's called our early raise with a short stack with 4-8 off, and then hit the 8 on the river. And I think you're going to see, you can see a lot of that sort of thing around Christmas time, you know. Just play recreational players, just jumping into the mix. And just doing very fishy things, which is good for us. Have to capitalize on it though. Have to try and minimize these mistakes at the moment and try and play our A game. We do have some 20s on the outside too, but the main one at the moment is, well, probably we're pretty short in this bottom middle one, which is a $33 one rebuy, one add-on. But we're a bit short in that now. But it's only got a couple of K up top, but halfway through that one. Obviously, the big one is the 100 rebuy, which has got almost 10,000 up top, and we're 13 of 99. Just haven't been having much luck with that end game lately. Let's see if we can get that to change today. The big 109, obviously, top right, very good tournament, and 18,000 up top today for that one. 18,100. Be more than that because the late reg is still open. Yeah, I think I will just see that small here. You can see we've got the stars bug at the moment. It's back. See, it says call on this Gordon player. It still says call, and there's no flashing. But that's okay because it's almost break time, and if I restart stars, it fixes it. It's a pretty annoying bug though, I must say. 6. This is pretty close, but I don't think M7.5. Yeah, I mean that is close, but I just don't think we can quite fold against the Goldie there. Hard to win those ones. I think I'm going to fold the ace-10 there, but a squeeze crossed my mind. This is a guy that limped before with ace-3, so I think I'm just going to shove over the top here. We pick up almost 2,000 in dead money, and I mean, it's the two key points there. I think is we crush the limpers range, and the second thing is, although we're a little bit deep at M8. We only have 2 players behind, and ace-9 it was, wasn't it? Yeah, ace-9. Ace-9 has a PN of 27, so I mean, even if we just open jammed into 2 players behind, we only need a PN of 16 for that to be profitable, so I mean, we can. And so we kind of get the 2 check marks there. We sort of get, okay, we can open jam this hand, so we're not really worried if a player wakes up behind with a hand, because if they do, so be it, but we can pick up 2,000 in dead money most of the time. Yes, we crush the limpers, you know, fishy limping range. Piggy snipes here in the big blind. Not surprisingly defending. Defends fairly wide. I think I'm just going to check this one. That's a pretty bad card. I'm probably going to call if he leads small turn. If it's like a, you know, 5 or something. I think I'm just going to take our showdown value. It's a little bit annoying, you know, if he's got 5s or something like that. Or like 6, 7, we can probably win. We could have won against those hands, but we did have a lot of outs and we did hit one of them. And he's going to hit and bet pretty big. And so he might be trying to fold out a 9 or a jack or like 10s, something like that. He might think we have a sort of 6 or something weak and he can fold it out. At the same time, you know, it could definitely be a value bet. I think he does value bet this size with a hand like Queen 9, you know, Jack Queen, maybe even an ace. King 10, diamonds. I think he might have led turn with diamonds, and maybe even King 10 some of the time, so I think we're compelled to call and just hate life when he shows us King 10. But it's pretty close. I think if we bet flop, he's probably going to call anyway, and so the only way we can win that hand, I think, is if we actually bet flop and then bet again turn. If we do decide to take the barrel option, which is a decent option, if we do decide to go to, you know, barrel town, I think we win that hand by betting turn. He can't really continue with the gut shot and king high. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough one. Maybe we could fold river, but I just think that once we hit the queen and it's gone check, and we're only just button stealing, I just think it's a little bit tough to just say now, okay, we're just going to hit a pair and give up. Even though our hand, our hand just looks like we have nothing. We might have given up, you know, and he might be aware of that. And the queen is a pretty good sort of card for his range too. He can have king 10 and 8-10 was a straight as well. 2 pairs, jack queens and stuff. So on that note, guys, would like to have finished on a better note there. But kind of a tough spot and didn't work out, but I'll try and make some better decisions next level and build these stacks up to get us ready for a deep run and hopefully some final tables, and I'll bring you a bit more action later on.